We're good? Unmuted?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm meteorologist Christina Sanjuan alongside meteorologist Alden, and it is about just before noon on this Sunday afternoon. We're tracking some severe weather. We just want to come to you with an update to tell you folks, especially across the metro, a lot of people are going to be impacted by these storms.
Yeah, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Metro Louisville, at least the west end, until noon. So that's actually going to be expiring soon. But I have a suspicion they're going to be issuing a new warning on that fairly soon. So as we check out Max 3 here, we're looking out towards the west end at the moment, where we can see some of those ominous looking skies right now. But gusty winds are going to be our main concern at the moment. I'm also looking at our National Weather Service chat, which does have some reports of trees down near the Fort Knox area. Parts of E-Town are without power on the eastern side. So these are some fairly strong storms that we're looking at. Here's a look at our current watches and warnings. We can see in that pink shade, that's a tornado watch that goes until 4 p.m. We have a couple of those severe thunderstorm warnings, various around the area. And that green shade is a flood watch that's in effect until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning because of how heavy some of this rain is that we're expecting to be moving in.
You also consider that we've had several days in a row now where we've had a lot of rain in every single storm, so our ground is already saturated, and that so kind of just makes a bad situation worse.
Yeah, it's not going to take much to get those it's not going to take much rain to cause any potential flooding issues. We're looking at right now is our risk level map from the Storm Prediction Center. Level 3 out of 5 for our entire WHAS 11 viewing area. Now, the main threats that we're facing with this are damaging winds and hail, although thankfully so far hail has not really been a concern at the moment. Also, tornadoes could be a possibility and localized flooding as a result of some of those very torrential downpours. So let's spend some time now looking at Max HD radar. Quite a bit of lightning with these thunderstorms, Christina. They are very electric. And as we get in closer here to the metro area, they still have not extended that warning, but we can put a track on this and we can see, actually we'll put a new track on this because it's moved. These storms are moving at about 50 miles per hour, correct?
Yeah, 50 to 55 miles per hour, so they're at least hauling as they're moving off to the east and northeast right now. So across the Louisville metro, they'll be near you folks in the Butyl neighborhood here in the next couple of minutes, just after the top of the hour. Fern Creek shortly thereafter. Anchorage just right around 12:10 to 12:15. Fisherville, same for you. So you can expect the wind to be cranking as these storms continue to push on through.
And they just put out a new severe thunderstorm warning as well. Let's see how long this one goes until. As I reload here, we'll clear all of that off. We'll check out this new warning. That new warning is until 12:30, so really a fairly short warning, only 32 minutes, and the main threat there is going to be 70 mile per hour winds. So this is for Metro Louisville to the east of I-65 for the most part. This does not include Prospect, but it does include St. Matthews, Anchorage, Fisherville, Butyl, Fern Creek, and Okolona again until 12:30. And this is moving to the northeast at 65 miles per hour. So this is moving at highway speeds. That's probably why that warning is only so short-lived right now. So I'll put another track on this right there along that leading edge. We zoomed out a little bit as well so we can get some more communities in it. Extending that out about 30 minutes. So Louisville, it's here now. Fern Creek, it's also effectively here now. You'll see it in about 6 minutes. Taylorsville at 12:11, near Crestwood just after 12:15, and near Shelbyville by 12:25. These are producing some very heavy downpours, and again, high wind gusts are what we're really going to be noticing with this. That's going to be the primary hazard. I'll put this in the motion too, and you can see just how quickly it's moving. Excuse me. I'll slow this down just a tad as well. And yeah, it's still moving fairly quickly. So Mount Washington, you're going to see some of that heavy rain fairly soon. Lots of lightning down there in Bullitt County. Also seeing quite a few lightning strikes there in western Jefferson County at the moment. So stay inside, and remember, when thunder roars, head indoors.
Yeah, and the thing is, of course, this couldn't come at a worse time. We know the Memorial Day weekend is a weekend that folks typically spend outside. But we've been forecasting this for days now, of course, so hopefully everybody has been able to kind of change those plans around to stay inside while these storms are passing on through. And a really important note here is that once these storms get out of here, we may even see some clearing, and that's all ahead of round 2 that's going to be arriving later on this evening. So we're not necessarily out of the woods even after we get this initial round to pass through.
And they just put out another severe thunderstorm warning. This one does include Prospect now in parts of southern Indiana. Storms are moving at the same speed, and if we put a timing on that, also until 12:30. So I'll pause this for a moment, and I'll just do one large track here because, again, the storm is moving at highway speeds, which in a way is actually a good thing because it means there's not going to be a lot of dwell time over your neighborhood, which reduces the risk of flooding. And it also means that it'll get out of your neighborhood relatively quickly as well. So Bardstown, you're experiencing that heavy rain pretty much right now. Springfield again around 12:15, Shelbyville just before 12:25, Newcastle at 12:30, and it should be in the capital city there of Frankfurt around 12:40. Henryville and Sellersburg, this is right on top of you at the moment as well.
And Alden, I'm continuing to monitor the comments here. Hey Kristen, thank you for your report. She said lots of very loud thunder and lightning in New Albany currently, which checks out perfectly with what we're seeing on the radar. As the worst part of the storm, we'll call it, is approaching the New Albany, Floyd County area and continuing to move on out to the northeast. So really this is the entire WHAS 11 viewing area that's being impacted by this first round. Also, Teresa says, bring it on, Alden.
Yeah, we got that second line coming our way, as you mentioned. In fact, we can take a look at Futurecast, which is doing a fairly decent job depicting our current situation, maybe running a little bit ahead of itself and might not quite be depicting how strong this line is currently all the way south along I-65. But notice by 3 o'clock, we already see most of this first round out of here, including some of that more uniform rain that's on the backside of that main line. So you might still be able to get outside later this afternoon and do some Memorial Day activities. Maybe that'd be a good time to get the grill out, but you know, just keep an eye to the sky on that for sure. But we have to watch out for some potential clearing.
Right, and we've actually already been looking at satellite, which shows a lot of clearing back to our west near the St. Louis area. And that's indicative of showing us kind of what we can expect for later on. And something that we as meteorologists say all the time is, hey, sunshine on a day like this is not a good thing because that does work as fuel in our atmosphere to kind of strengthen the thunderstorms we could see later on this evening, which would be between the hours of about 8 o'clock to midnight tonight.
And we're looking at that visible satellite right now, which is showing that pretty sharp clearing line back towards St. Louis. So we're going to have to see if it can move quickly enough to actually make it into Kentuckiana within the next few hours. Because if it did, that would allow the atmosphere to recharge, to resupply itself with some later fuel for these storms that we expect to see later on this evening. So we'll go back to Futurecast now. And there's 5 o'clock, not much happening. Temperatures look fairly comfortable. We could even see some breaks in the clouds then, but notice back towards Jasper, Tell City, towards Litchfield, that's where we could still see some of that clearing, and it does not necessarily take a lot of clearing to make a difference. By 7 p.m., this is when we start to see that second round, maybe some new showers or storms beginning to pop up, and by 8:30, 8 to 9 o'clock, that's when we'll be watching for this stronger line. And even though it's going to be coming after sunset, it should still be fairly healthy. So that's why we're paying close attention to this line, because this is the line that could actually produce more severe weather as it pushes through our area around 10 to 11 o'clock here in Metro Louisville. But the good news is that it looks to be pushing out of here relatively quickly and out of here by around 12 to 1 o'clock.
Yeah, another very quick moving storm system, which is good and bad. Of course, like you said, it's not going to dwell long, which does at least slightly reduce that chance to see any large or widespread flooding issues. But it also means that we're probably going to have quite a bit of wind with it.
And we can actually go back to radar and check out what some of those radar estimated wind speeds are. Our chief meteorologist, Ben Pine, just texted us and said at his home they are not experiencing any very high winds at the moment, which is good. Sometimes you can have radar indicate strong winds aloft, high in the atmosphere, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're translating down to the surface. So
and that's why it's always good to kind of get the ground truth from you folks that are watching from home, letting us know what you're seeing in your neighborhood. And that helps us kind of correlate with what we're seeing on the radar.
And-
Also, Brianna said it's hailing right now in Salem.
Okay, good to know. And this is an example of some of those wind speeds that might not necessarily be making it down to the surface. I clicked on a pixel here that's showing 81 mile per hour winds right on top of downtown Louisville, but those winds aren't necessarily making it down to the surface. But it is still likely very windy. Off towards the west, towards the east, north of Okolona, we see wind speeds of around 70 miles per hour, potential wind speeds of around 70 miles per hour near Germantown at the moment as well. Also south there near Fern Creek. So all of those pink shades are winds that are between 60 and 70 miles per hour and continuing to push off to the east. Again, fairly quickly, and it even looks like those wind speeds could be trying to pick up intensity a little bit as they pass over downtown Louisville and continue to move off to the northeast.
And kind of a testament to how strong these winds are, Alden, I just looked at the National Weather Service chat. Hodgenville PD had just reported multiple power lines down, likely because of the very strong wind that's moving on through the area. Wouldn't be surprised if you unfortunately do lose electricity here with this initial line of storms that's moving on through.
So, and since we have seen some power outages and trees down, that obviously could fall on some power lines. Not a bad idea to go ahead and, have your devices charged just in case
Right.
you do lose power for a while. If you have an external battery, you could get that charged up as well and have it
Extra
away.
batteries in the weather radio as well.
Yeah, and that will especially be important for later tonight, especially if you are going to sleep. It's important you have a way to get those alerts to your phone, so you can download the free WHAS 11 app. You can watch us live on air. If you have a NOAA weather radio, you can set that to go off if there's a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning. They go off a lot more if you set them for severe thunderstorm warnings. But
That's true. It does get quite noisy, but it could be potentially life-saving.
right, and hopefully we won't find ourselves in a situation like that later tonight. But some areas have seen elsewhere around the country, including Kentucky, some tornadoes.
It's right around Hopkinsville earlier. There was a confirmed tornado.
Yeah, a large tornado apparently down near Hopkinsville as it was approaching Bowling Green. I've not seen much out of there in terms of damage reports, but that's something we'll be keeping an eye on for sure.
Yeah, but so the number one takeaway I'd say from this is just making sure that you're doing what you're doing right now and staying up to date with the weather forecast. If you're trying to get some time outdoors, you will be able to do it a little bit later on this afternoon, but don't put your guard down because we do still have round 2 that could come with even more severe weather threats. So all modes of severe weather on the table. We're talking, yes, tornadoes are possible, the very heavy rain that could lead to localized flash flooding, frequent lightning, which is something we've kind of had to get used to, unfortunately, this entire week, or at least the last couple of days. And then damaging wind. We've seen wind of 60 to 70 miles per hour. And then also hail is on the table.
Thankfully, the hail so far has been pretty small, but later tonight is when we could see some of that larger hail that potentially could be up to the size of golf balls. That's what the Storm Prediction Center was talking about. So we're looking at your comments right now, and some tree damage in Valley Station from Crystal. She's telling us, Kristen is telling us the wind is picking up in New Albany, and their severe alerts went off. And we're seeing a lot of comments from people saying that their winds are fairly strong right now. So that all goes hand in hand with what we've been expecting. We'll take another look at our radar here. I'll put on our regular radar, and then we'll do one more track here before we will likely sign off for just a moment. So here's a look at the 2 large severe thunderstorm warnings that we have. They're already pushing east of I-65. So as mentioned, these are moving relatively quickly at a speed of roughly 65 miles per hour.
When we were starting this live stream just before the top of the hour, it was just now entering into the Louisville Metro, and it's already pushing off to the east of the interstate.
Yeah, so we'll see this in Springfield around 12:11 and Shelbyville around 12:20, Newcastle just after 12:30. Oldham County, parts of Trimble County, you'll expect this in probably the next 15 to 20, really probably the next 10 to 15 minutes as it's moving fairly quickly right now. And Christina's up looking at the National Weather Service chat, which we use to communicate with the Weather Service to get inside information, and she'll let us know.
Yeah, Alden, it seems that wind seems to be the biggest issue right now with the newest warnings that they just put on that northern edge of the line, they are now warning it for 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, which we were seeing that as a radar estimate earlier on.
Yeah, radar estimated wind speeds that strong, it can definitely cause damage. So for right now, we are going to sign off and we might get ready to go on air as well. So thanks for watching us here, and we will keep you informed, and stay tuned to WHAS 11 News for any of the latest information.